Welcome everyone to the 32nd of DevOps and I meetups. We've been doing these for quite some time now. Yeah, so next occurrence of this is here. Nice to see you in such numbers. And today we have two presentations. One is from Edgars Beigarts, and he will do why business users will never use Claude Code presentation. And we have Raimonds Simanovskis and evolution of eazyBI AI assistants. Those will be our talks, and the agenda for today. Raimond starts. Then we have like a quick lightning talk from Gatis, and after that we have a 15-minute break where we have pizzas and drinks and chit chats and whatnot. And then we continue with part 2 with Edgars. So that is the plan for today, and as every event needs sponsors. So we're saying a big thank you to our general sponsor for the year, Arvato Systems Latvia, and as well for this lovely venue, we say big thanks to Workland. So usually as so who are we and how this event comes to happen every 2 months-ish. So these are all the people who are organizers. We are doing this for, I don't know why, but we like it. We've been doing it for years, and pretty much the company changed a bit, but these are the core people who organize these events, and we do it because we like DevOps and AI, and that's just how we do it. Some of the companies we work for, the people who want to make public, so Moon, Zenis, Double Helix, and in general, all the meetups are for the community to meet new people, learn some new skills, hear something cool that someone else is doing, and then just mingle and get to know more people and new technologies and just improve as specialists in general and get a better view of what's around you. So if you want to be a speaker, you are very welcome to do so. We are very open to new speakers, and if anyone has some cool stuff you want to show, then this is how you reach out to us. So Techies of Baltics, it's our Slack channel, and then we have our LinkedIn, Facebook, Meetup, and the DevOps LV page. Yeah, and the applications, if you want to become a speaker, you do it through DevOps LV. There's like a form, you fill it out, and that's how you become one of the 2 people who will. You can do a lightning talk as well, so it doesn't have to be a long format. It can be a short 5-minute talk as well.
5 hours?
Sorry?
5 minutes or
Well, depends. I say 5 minutes, it's usually more than 5 minutes. It's just to keep everyone in check. Same as the talks can be like 30 minutes, but it's not always 30 minutes, you know. Yeah, and these events, it's very nice if we get sponsors as well for them. So for the pizzas and drinks, and it's nice to sponsor this. And there's like different ways you can do it, either a yearly based, on event based, and like specific event, special one as well. So yeah, and you can shout out your company in this way, and you get your logo everywhere and stuff like that. So again, back to the agenda, and let's start then with Raimonds. A big hand of applause for Raimonds. So we do a quick swapsies. I give you this and the clicker if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Oops, sorry.
Clicker. I need to. Is ancient technology of eazyBI, or whatever it was named.
Oh, you don't have the port, right?
But I have adapter for that.
The world of unending adapters now.
Yep. Okay. No, I don't want to identify my keyboard. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for invitation. My name is Raimonds Simanovskis, and I'm the founder and CEO of eazyBI. My background is that I typically say that I'm a programmer who learned to do the business side, and I'm still one of those few, or nowadays even not so few CEOs who still code. I like to do coding, and this topic of AI assistance was also interesting for me, and I did the majority of AI assistance implementation in eazyBI. So at first, very quickly, so if this works, okay, it works. Very shortly, what is eazyBI? How many of you know what is eazyBI? Oh, some half of the room, so that's great. So eazyBI is a business intelligence application for data analysis and visualization. So it's a general purpose BI tool, similar to tools like Power BI or Tableau. But what is special for us is that we have very deep integration with Atlassian products like Jira and Confluence, and we are one of the top marketplace apps on the Atlassian marketplace. And with eazyBI, you can analyze your data, so create some pivot table style reports with different measures and dimensions, and do some color coding and drill into details. And then you can provide the visualize the data using different chart styles and create dashboards of these charts. Then you can explore the data, drill into the details, as well as you can share the data using different dashboards or PDF exports, etc. And we have integration with many different data sources. Most popular are integrations with the Jira Service Management, Confluence, as well as different Atlassian Marketplace apps, as well as generic data import from databases, spreadsheets, etc. So that's just to shortly give the context of it. And so as you can tell by the name that we are a BI tool, where BI means business intelligence. But about 3 years ago, so everyone started to talk about different set of letters about AI. So we started to think and see how we could use these technologies together with eazyBI. And already some 3 years ago, so when the first LLMs, so ChatGPT and other LLMs appeared, so many were thinking, so why do we need BI tools at all? So now we will have the AI which can answer all the questions. For example, LLMs were quite good at SQL generation, for example, which is quite often used for data analysis. And for example, in a Jira context, someone might ask, so show created versus resolved issues by month in last 12 months. And already some 3 years ago, LLMs were quite good at SQL generation. And then that was, so if you provided the database schema with table structures, what are the columns, etc., it could happily generate valid SQL. But probably, well, if you have a business user who can't use Claude Code or who can't write SQL, so they would probably don't understand what it means and they can't validate it. And those who can validate it, they probably would investigate that and see that, so this actually is grouping all the issues just by their creation data and not by the resolved data if you are looking at resolved issues. So therefore, when we saw these first examples, we see that it can generate, for example, some analytical queries, but it's very hard for users to validate that it's actually correct. And so therefore, that was our initial idea, so how we could build a better AI assistance, which could combine and generate eazyBI reports which users can understand better and use better. And that's what we started to build, and so the first version of our report builder assistant was launched in April 2024, where we integrated it with our existing report builder, but we created this chat interface where you could ask the same question, for example, show created versus resolved issues by month in last 12 months as bar chart. And then it generates the report definition. So beneath that, there's a JSON structure of this report definition that you can load and validate that it's actually correct. And in our case, the data model was already much better as we provided some more business-oriented data layer with measures which are named like issues created or issues resolved, and with dimensions like time, for example, project or issue type. And so that provided much better mapping from the question to the answer, as well as the users could better validate that what they asked is actually what they were requesting. And so we integrated this into our existing product. We provided all relevant context. So what are all the available measures, dimensions in your eazyBI account that you can use? We provided all relevant knowledge, as we already had a lot of documentation, a lot of examples of reports. And then we could start iterate on that, so to fine-tune instructions and provide constant improvements. And so the initial implementation was at that time more or less the classic implementation of these assistants. It was this RAG-based implementation or retrieval augmented generation-based implementation. So that if you are getting the user question, like this example, at first we did the classification of it using LLM. So whether it's report definition, asking to explain some measure, or asking to find documentation. So if it's asking for report definition, then we are searching knowledge data by similarity to the prompt. So using this vector-based similarity search. So at first, in this particular eazyBI account, we had this data cube with all the measures and dimensions and levels available, so that we gather and for this knowledge context. So then we had, so we created, and we already previously had a lot of example reports, and then we are providing, indexing them and providing, injecting the most similar ones also as examples of these reports in the context. And then we had already good documentation that we are indexing and getting just some chunks of the documentation into the context. And then based on the templates of system instructions, we provide the full system prompt, and then sending that. So we are hosted on a Google Cloud platform, so we use that one. But then initially and currently as well, we primarily use Claude, Sonnet models, and getting back the response from the LM, where we initially even more, so nowadays later, we sometimes find some mistakes that it would be easier to fix deterministically, so that sometimes some generated report definition is not valid, so maybe you need to modify some JSON. Sometimes initially also more, but even nowadays with complex JSON structures, there sometimes might be some missing curly or square bracket as well. And so if we validate that it's correct, so we are sending this back to the user. And there are some more additional comments about this initial implementation approach. At the very beginning, so we created these adapters for different LLM providers. So back then when we started, so we did first experiments with the GPT 3.5 at that time, so which was the top model. And then after some while, switched to the Claude Sonnet 3 and Gemini 1, and then after many iterations, upgrading all the time, primarily staying with the Claude Sonnet models. So currently we are using Claude Sonnet 4.6. But what I would recommend that, so don't create your implementation just using one specific and currently best of breed LLM, as you can see that over time, maybe each month, so some different model is announced that that's the best, or there's always the risks that some might be too expensive or unavailable for some purpose. And so therefore, in our framework, we have created these different adapters so that we can switch and evaluate different these LLM providers. And for example, I have been playing with different open weight models as well. And for example, recently experimented with all the latest these Chinese open weight models, and they are pretty good. So if we would need to switch, we could use them as well. And so currently we're still primarily happy with Claude Sonnet and using that one. But so just in case, it's good that you can switch to something different as well. So then we had already quite good documentation about all the eazyBI functionality. And so instead of creating just new instructions about everything that we have, so we reused our existing documentation, which technically in the backend it was Confluence, but then it Atlassian Confluence, and then it presented the results as HTML. And then, so to reduce the size and so make it better for LLMs, so we did the translation from HTML to Markdown, stripped away all the unnecessary things, so just the plain basic Markdown remains, and then did the chunking and embedding and storing PostgreSQL with PG Vector extension, as that was the database that we are primarily using. And so just use as much as possible what you already have. So don't just switch to something else. So if these existing building blocks you already have. And similar thing was regarding all these sample reports that we already had. A lot of sample reports with these JSON definitions, which we can index and create embeddings and store them in the PostgreSQL in the same way as well. And also, we didn't use any frameworks because at that time, so I still like and write the most of the backend code in the Ruby, and maybe the Ruby was not the top language for creating these frameworks. And also, when you are creating it by yourself, all this, for example, this rack-based implementation, so it's not rocket science, so it's quite clear. Steps what you do, and if you do it by yourself, then you better understand the whole process, and so I recommend that as well. So when starting to write the instructions, and one of the reasons why I selected Claude at that time, when it still wasn't the coolest thing that now everyone is saying. So I really like the Anthropic documentation about their prompt engineering and about the techniques, how they recommended to use XML tags. And then also, initially, we already used this suggested approach that we ask to think about answer and wrap it into thinking tags, and then we hide it from the end user. So that was something already before all the models implemented this internal thinking or reasoning. So we did it according to these initial instructions back then. After that, so we started to create many other different assistants. So instead of trying to create one just generic one, but using the same platform, we started to embed it in many different places of our product. So we have assistants for creating calculation formulas using specific MDX formula language. Then for conditional formatting, so there is a separate dialog, so where you can ask to create some conditional formatting rules, or you can in some dimensions create some custom hierarchies, which we initially made so very generic that you can build whatever you want, but using custom JavaScript code. And then even our support consultants were not quite well at creating this quite more complex JavaScript calculations, which nowadays is much easier with to do it with LLMs, as they are brilliant at writing JavaScript code. So typical question was that, okay, my complex report is slow, why is it so? Then we created report optimizer assistant, which when you use it, so it will do the profiling of the report execution. So how long took some SQL execution? So how long each calculation formula executed? And it will provide the breakdown. So how much it spent and what is worth optimizing. Then you can also ask suggestions. So how you would like to suggest how to optimize. And there are many different standard ways how you can do it. And as well as during data import, you can create some new JavaScript-based calculation fields. So many different these additional assistants. And finally, we also, just on the home page, we added this main assistant here, where you just encourage to ask if you have any question about documentation or where to do what. So you can start asking that on the main home page. So then the next step was when all the LLMs started to introduce tools. And now that was the way how you could improve the performance of your assistants. So it's not just a single RAG approach. And then these tools that we added was, so first when you are building some report and you are asking maybe do it for these issue assignees and these projects for these issue types, we can at first validate and do the fuzzy search and find the exact names how we have in our dimension model, these issue types or assignees or projects, etc. So that produced report definition will be correct. Then so instead of we have these assistants for creating these calculation formulas. Previously, you could write it separately. You create your report, and then you create a separate dialog of these calculation formulas. So now we introduce this as a sub-agent for this main report builder agent. And then you can ask, please build this report with this additional calculation as well. And then it can use as a tool some other sub-assistant which will write all your calculation formulas. Then we still inject some initial this knowledge using this RAG-based approach based on your the most closest documentation page fragments or some example reports. But then we provide these tools that LMs can search for some additional knowledge or read some additional instructions. So that in the most cases, to improve maybe the first response time, so we provide some additional knowledge. But for more complex questions, LLMs can decide to use these additional tools to get the additional data. As well as in addition to providing this to external users, so we use it also internally a lot. For example, recently we have created these our internal agents. For example, on a daily basis, we are asking, so check out from one system which are all employees out of office, and then check which are the current open pull requests in GitHub, for example. So, and we want to remind those who need to review, who are reviewers, and then we want to remind those who have not processed their review comments. And then we can find all existing Slack users, and sometimes we need to tell them that there we use Latvian characters, so there we don't use Latvian characters in the full names, and so how to match from one system these users to others, and then finally post some Slack message. So just by adding these additional tools on, and all this functionality already was in some way in eazyBI for other purposes. So these additional tools are just wrappers to call these tools and provide the results. And one important also thing that, as I mentioned, that all this functionality already was somewhere in eazyBI, but it's very important that you only that you provide the data only which should be accessible to the current user. And therefore, all these tool calls, we always set up the context of the current user who is using this assistant, so that all the access rights would be checked in exactly the same way as you would be using the product itself, so that we don't accidentally don't expose some data that should not be available to that user. Then the next step was adding caching. As we covered the costs of these AI assistants for our users, and so initially, so there were very small amount that we pay from our revenues for that. But initially it was in hundreds per month, so now it's in thousands and many thousands per month, and so then some couple thousands more or less, so then it starts to become more meaningful already, and therefore we investigated and started so how we could introduce better caching. And there we started to pay also more attention to how we structure all our system instructions, and where we put these manual caching breakpoints, so that the common instructions which are the same for any users are at the beginning with some cache breakpoint, and then it's some next portion is will be the same for the same user in the same eazyBI account, and then there will be some conversation-specific system prompts, so that we ensure that the more data could be cached, and as now they are used quite intensively, and in Claude Code, using Claude models via APIs, so there's this default 5 minutes caching period. So when it's used quite intensively, then you can save quite a lot of costs using this caching, and so we can save about some 30 to 50% of the costs compared to the non-cached values. As well as the other benefit is that you can get faster responses. So if you use this caching, so then the processing of this initial prompt, so it's looked up the state of the LLM inference, it's looked up from the cache, and so therefore the response will be generated faster as well. If we look at the AI assistants for these first 2 years, which started in 2 years and 2 months ago, so they have been really popular, and so far it has been 300,000 conversations from our users, and so now we have about some 3,000 monthly active users using them. And one significant benefit is also that so our business has been growing, but if I compare our amount of support emails per month, it has dropped about 30%, because now we have can cover much more these standard questions which previously probably would be sent to our support email. But we can do a lot more, and so the users are just using a lot more our AI assistants, and just for more complex things and where they need the human assistance. So as a result, so our human support is still much better, because so they need to handle less amount of support emails, and then they can spend more time to provide quality answers to users. So how? So if you have a lot of users, so how to improve these assistants and over time? And so one challenge is that we have very different user experience with LLMs, and especially initially you could see that some who have not been using even ChatGPT or something else, they were trying to use it as a Google search engine, just providing some couple keywords. So now that's actually improving. That after these 2 years, I would say that the quality that the majority of users, I think, are already using, these business users who are using some software tools are already using some LLM chat tools where they understand that they need to explain a little bit more what they really want. And So that's helping us so that we get better prompts from them. But yeah, still, as you have a lot of different users, a lot of different backgrounds, you need to find out what would be the optimal assistant response size. If for programmers who are nowadays using AI agents, so we are used to that, so we have these huge LM outputs, so it's doing all the time. So still for some typical business users, so we don't want to overwhelm them with too large responses, and so you need to hide a lot of these internal details, and so therefore we are hiding all this internal thinking and tool calls for these end users. So they are available for admins where we can investigate how it was answered, but not for them. As well as we need to provide optimal response time for them as well. Well, that's becoming a little bit better, as well as maybe in the very beginning there was expectation that if you talked with ChatGPT that you get for any question answer in a couple seconds, and maybe it will be garbage or not. So now everyone has learned so that if you want to get the better results, then these LMs are doing a lot of this internal loop, calling different tools and finding things and generating, and it will take more time. And but still, no, so typically maybe our answers are up to half a minute, but sometimes it could be also a couple minutes. And then we try to provide some visual feedback that it is doing something, it's not stuck, but it's no, so kind of typical business users are not as programmers who giving very complex tasks and then going to sleep and just checking in the morning the result. So still, for typical generic users, so you need to think that it's not taking too long response time. Therefore, in the instructions, we also need to fine-tune in some cases where we see that it took too long time. We need to fine-tune that, okay, if it's really hard, then please provide some first step and then ask whether to continue. Unfortunately, LLMs don't have this sense of time, and you can't say to them, well, think up to 1 minute. You can kill the response, but that's not the best way. We also try to be as open as possible to users how our assistants work and what data we are sharing and what we are not sharing. And we have some generic FAQ page as well as more detailed one where we're explaining so what data will be shared and what's not. Especially in enterprises, so people are still quite concerned whether their data will be shared elsewhere, whether it will be used to train LLMs, etc. So over time, over these 2 years, so enterprise lawyers are better probably with these LLM things and understand. And so if you provide all the information, so what we are doing and how we are doing, so they are able to understand it better. But we still allow to opt out of using AI assistants, and if you are not sure that you want to do that. And so what we openly say that we analyze these user conversations for the purpose to improve our AI assistants. Because without seeing how your users actually are using them, it's very hard and not possible to provide and make them better. And so how you would use some prompts and what are the actual prompts and how long it took, so it's totally different thing. And so therefore, as when our users are writing to our support, we are reading their responses and answering back. So then we are saying that we, by default, we might use your conversations to understand whether the responses provided were good and how to improve them. But we allow for that as well to opt out if you don't want that we will look at your conversations, so you can opt out of that. Also, one thing that we are now regarding our documentation, so how we are building it, as previously it was mostly built. We analyzed how many page views were on our documentation, what were the search terms. But nowadays, so our documentation page is being accessed probably mostly just by bots. So the page views are meaningless. Search terms are also with some bots trying to find some vulnerabilities. And so therefore, we need to optimize our documentation both for humans and AI as well. So that's, we also, we review, so how many, if some documentation fragment was used in the response, so we can see what was the link, and we can find from the conversations how many times some documentation page fragments were referenced in the responses. As well as when you're writing for AI, so we, in the context, we provide just the text of our documentation, and so we don't put the images because so it would take more time and so more context. And so therefore, whenever reviewing, we need to, that it's text that contains all the information. Some image screenshots are some additional information, might be useful for users, but we don't use these screenshots for providing context to LLMs. So that's how you are thinking about writing and improving your documentation. And whenever, we find that some answer was not good, that sometimes we need to check, so what was provided in the context. So probably it was just some common knowledge in our brains, and it was nowhere documented. And so therefore, we shouldn't blame then LLMs that they didn't know about that if we haven't told them about it. Very quick demo, so what I wanted to show, so how it looks now, so that I have opened my report builder page, and so let's use this sample prompt, show created versus resolved issues by month. Okay, in my demo data, I'll use some longer time, some last 10 years as a bar chart. And so in addition, so what we used, we provide also different random sample charts. So when we are now, what we have, as it might take some longer time, so we provide some visual feedback that it did some classification, it retrieved some knowledge data, and so now it's thinking and generating the answer. So it will, so hopefully is having the internet access. So it provided the response that you can preview. And so below it, so what it generated, so we have this structured JSON format. And that also was quite a good success factor that already before, when we were creating our internal report definition JSON, we tried to be human readable as well. And if something is well structured and human readable and not very technical, so it's very good for LLMs as well. So it was quite easy to generate using some examples this report definition. As still, LLMs are some kind of pattern matching on steroids. So if you can provide one example pattern, so it can generate some other similarly patterns. And then, if I maybe I'll open some different one example. So what I'm currently showing. So this is not available for the end users, but this is available for the admins. So if we want to explore some conversation, so we see that what was the classification of this report. We saw also all the context data that was included. So here are, I put, get some 5 similar examples and provide in this context. Then so here are some fragments from our documentation that were coming, which were similar about it, and then it's just reduced to some markdown format. So when reviewing we can find it. As well as we can see which was the, how many, there were some total input tokens, output tokens, so what was some maximum response time. That's later we can search in our history of conversations to see which were maybe took too long time to do it. And then we can also, we as admins, I can see also all the function calls that we made, which was a response, and to investigate whether that was a relevant thing. As well as we see all the hidden, all the internal thinking, what was done before generating it. And so if the response was not good, so we as admins can review and try to understand what went wrong with this thinking. So that's a very short example about that. So how we define these our AI assistants is that we have some templates where we can put some fragments of it. For example, here's some fragment where is all our JSON description of JSON structure defined of our reports. Sometimes when it's hard to explain, it's better provide some examples of how it might look like, etc. As well as then there are at the end, so all the available functions or tools available to this assistant. And then when we are analyzing, so then we can access and see all the history of all the these threads and find what we are interested in and investigate the details. So how we are then monitoring this usage and what we are paying attention to of these assistants. So the first thing, so we put the traditional one that users can put thumbs up or thumbs down on some responses. Very few users are using that, and so probably more often we are encouraging some of our colleagues if they find out that something was not working. So always put thumbs down and provide the description. But sometimes it's good to read some very positive responses, but sometimes with some down is that didn't work, and so it doesn't really help. And very few are providing the answers. And of course, so sometimes there might be some errors, and either our internal ones, or sometimes there might be some temporary downtimes of LLM services that we try to retry, but occasionally we get them as well. But then, so nowadays, what we are trying to optimize all the time, as I'm saying, that too long response times, which typically are because of too large thinking or too large overthinking of it. So then we are trying to find and then thinking how to improve the instructions to discourage this too long thinking, as we still want for normal users to provide faster responses. Or too many messages per conversation. So initially we thought and we implemented, but which wasn't really needed, that this compaction of large conversations. That sometimes we are telling that maybe, okay, this new topic, start a new one, but sometimes we have seen maybe some 50 messages per thread. And then we thought initially when we used the context limit was 200,000 tokens, and then we implemented at some point coming near to that, do the compaction. But now these limits are much larger, 1 million tokens. And so now we see that actually that's not needed so much in our case. And so we don't use that too much. But then, we do some ad hoc review of conversations or finding by keyword or sentiment. But so the last thing, so what we started to do is so even better. And previously, when we asked, for example, Claude Code to improve our instructions to Claude, but now we start to use more like Claude Code for analyzing the history of these our conversation threads. And for that, so the first thing that we recently created, currently just for our internal purposes, we created eazyBI CLI, command line interface. So there was some debate whether you should use MCPs, or then many said maybe CLIs are much better and more powerful. Therefore, we went to the CLI approach that there's a eazyBI CLI tool that you can authenticate, and then it can do both as a user can find all the accounts, reports, and execute them. But then we also exposed also internal admin endpoints. For example, whatever admins can find all the assistant threads, this eazyBI CLI tool can do this as well. And then we created the skills for agents. And then you can install skill for Claude Code, for example. And then some example, if you install it, and then with Claude Code, so you can ask, for example, use eazyBI CLI development profile. I was testing with my local development environment, and find top 3 assistant threads with longest response times in the last 30 days and analyze why they were long. And so it will go on and then use our CLI, find them, and then find out which were too long, and then we'll go through these details and do the qualitative analysis of it and try to understand why it took so long. And finally, probably I will find out, okay, so these were these top things, so what you need to look at. As currently, when we have hundreds or even up to 1,000 threads per day, so you can't do it anymore manually to review all of them. So that's our latest approach, and so initially I started with the question, so whether AI will replace BI. So we think that they will live happily together, as still the traditional BI tools are very good at providing some dashboards, and the standard dashboards that you can look at every day. For example, if you are driving with a car, probably you don't want to ask AI assistant all the time, what's my speed? What's my speed? So you want to see it on the dashboard. And then when you want to do some qualitative analysis, you want to drill into the data, then AIs and LLMs are very good at investigating the details and trying to find some hidden reasons for that. So thank you. So that was my experience, and any questions, I'm happy to answer. So that was the first.
Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering, what is the single most important bottleneck that prevent moving agents from like a single experiment just for personal testing to organizational-wide business results, real tangible results in production?
No, what I'm thinking that it's good to, and still I think that in many places these AI agents are still personal productivity improvement tools. And so what I'm exploring as well in our organization and also with our AI assistants, how you can move more to the standardized approach. And so this is how we, for example, in our area, so we put that, well, you can use just quite simple prompts, but all your common knowledge, what you have in your shared eazyBI account, which is used by many users, you can use it to get the results. And so that's how internally we also, when using AI agents, we try to share as much as possible and avoid some local prompts and instructions, but so more move to some commonly shared ones. And so I think that in organizations it's always good to have some enthusiasts that do things, but then they should be encouraged and find out how we can now share this usage approach and what I was learned before, so that's what others could start using. And now these enthusiasts will do again some new experiments and try new things elsewhere as well. So that's, for example, how in our organization also, our developers started to use Claude Code, but now also many others from support, from marketing are using Claude Code with eazyBI CLI to do their things. And developers are now helping and training them, but we have these common tools available. I don't know if I answered your question. Okay, so there was some additional question.
My question was regarding the different formats that you've mentioned. Whenever you've been storing, let's say, gathering the knowledge base in your rack, what was the, let's say, final formats? I mean, before it was embedded, what were the formats that were validated or that were like human readable and everyone's readable? Or you ended up with one, or you have had some, I don't know, transformations on the go happening?
No, regarding the text formats, text knowledge, so it's Markdown. So what we are using either in our instructions or when, as I mentioned, when we have our documentation, we are transforming, just getting rid of all HTML tags, just keeping the standard bolds and headings and then transforming it to the Markdown. As Markdown is very good for LLMs and it's compact one. And then for other things, so we are using for our whatever else, we are using this JSON format, but this is quite a complex nested JSON format for how we store our report definitions. And that, so in general, so for reading, LLMs are good at JSON. Sometimes when generating complex JSON, so it's sometimes it can make mistakes. So recently we did, so currently very rarely it does mistakes, but for that we did one trick that it generated, and if the JSON parsing fails, then we create very mini JSON fixer agent, which, well, could you please fix it? As most often maybe some curly brace or square brace is missing, and we use that. But, so in terms of knowledge, it's primarily Markdown and JSON. But JSON is for this structured report definitions.
And was the storage of, let's say, schema, because I suppose that each your customer may have differences, how they store data, the field, the properties, the formats. Is that the core of the RAG, or that the core of some other area of knowledge?
No, so it's like when we are defining this in instructions. So what is different for each customer is what kind of dimensions, hierarchies, levels, measures they have. And then we have these placeholders, and then it's in this generated in this full context. It will be like it will be like. So that's how it's generated for this particular customer. So okay, we have these dimensions and these hierarchies and these levels. So it's just within these XML tags, just a comma-separated list of these. Our query language is this specific multidimensional query language, MDX. There are these just references, which are all the measures, dimensions, hierarchies available. So it's plain text schema definition. So it's good enough for modern LLMs to find what they need.
So do I get it right that it's get injected directly to the context?
Yeah, so that's at the end of the system prompt. So when the user, so the beginning of the system prompt is common for everyone. So then is something common like this. Will be whenever this user starts the conversation, it will be there because so they are in the same eazyBI account. And then if there's something specific, then it will be appended later.
All right. So thanks for the questions for now. If you have more questions, then please do ask them during our break time and then when you can mingle. So, and a task for you, the question you like the most, you can give them a small souvenir then.
Well, I'll give the first question. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, and we have a small gift from us as well. Thank you very much for coming, for presenting.
Yeah, thank you
very much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a small present from us.
A big, large.
All right, so now we will have a lightning talk, and I will try to turn off the... Yes, okay, that actually worked. All right, yes, lightning talk by Gatis Silakaktiņš. Please, the stage is yours.
I will also time my time, so it's not more than 10 minutes. It's challenging. Great. I'm good at it? Okay. Is someone watching?
We hope so.
Hope that works. You're spending precious seconds now. Good. I hope I'm visible. Where's all this? Somewhere it is. He asked me to come here and lightening this thing all up with a little talk about sales. I'm a sales guy. I established an organization which is uniting businesses. It's called Riga Business Chamber. And now and then I still agree to do like sales trainings. And I'm gonna give you a small task. First, stand up and find someone you don't know and approach that person. You got exactly 10 seconds to do that. Stand up, find someone you don't know. You don't know. Okay, I think we all got the message. So it's not easy to get someone to do what you want. You can all sit down. And please get your phone back if you didn't. So dear audience, I thought I think you're missing a communication. I can see it. It doesn't cost anything to wish for something, right? And it always costs something to give something away. And in order to keep the balance, it's just natural for human beings, and not only for human beings, to be resistant of instantly saying yes and agreeing to everything what anyone else asks us to do. And that's why when Uldis asked me to present something on the DevOps Meetup, I understood, okay, you are very used to prompt things, prompt AI. And I thought of how about reminding you about how is prompting with people working. And in order to do that, please tell me in 2 words or in 1, what problem does your business solve? Raise your hand who's ready. What problem does your business solve? What problem does your business solve? No idea. Yeah, please.
Paper reporting.
Paper reporting. Is paper reporting a problem or it's a solution, or what is a problem in paper reporting? Because it's not a problem. Yeah. Transcription is the problem. Okay. For me, transcription. So what is the meaning of the use of transcription? So the problem is avoiding misunderstandings. The problem is false interpretation, right? That would be the problem. Because transcription is already a solution. Same as reporting. You offer digital reporting, right? Instead of paper reporting. But the problem is not the paper reporting itself, but the resources needed to do the paper reporting, right? Instead of not needed to do the digital reporting, right? So you're saving resources. That is the problem you are solving. And if we are prompting our clients with just transcription and with just paper reporting, I'm going to avoid you from paper reporting, or I'm going to give you transcription, we are not prompting our clients right. We're misleading them. And it's the same as asking for a stranger to give his phone just with 1 word. It's pretty complicated. And I will just, I didn't invent it. Actually, there was a guy, he's actually still alive, Neil Rackham, who in 1970s invented a method of getting people interested in what you are about to offer. And the method is called spin. He taught us, sales representatives and people in sales, to ask consequently 4 questions. I'm already out of my time, but if you allow me, I will just finish. So the first one is situational questions. Questions which just describe the situation. For example, in your situation, it would be questions to your customers about how often do you have some events where somebody is speaking, right? For example. Because the situation should be related to the problem you're solving, right? For you, what would be the situation question to ask about paper reporting? How do you report, or how do you make reports, for example? That's a bit too far already. That's like you're going to a date and you're already asking, so how long have you been without sex? It's, you know, a bit too harsh. Yeah. First is situation. Do you do reports at all? You know, and then you have the next step. And the next step is you can invent 3, not more, but 3 situational questions. 1, 2, or 3 would lead you and give you a permission to take next step. And the next step is already asking something which is directly related to the problem you are solving. That's why it's so very important to know precisely what problem are you solving, not just thinking that you know it by knowing the solution. You're all experts in solution you're giving. And believe me, your clients are not aware of what is the problem you can solve just by telling them what solution you are bringing. So the next question is already more related to the problem. And the problem is already what you said. So repeat the question you said before. How long time? How long time it takes for you to create report, for example? Or for you, what would be the problem with the misunderstanding related? How many languages? That would also involve something in. What happens if somebody doesn't understand the speaker, for example? What consequences what bad consequences can happen? Mm-hmm. So how important it is for you, for the audience, to understand what the speaker is saying, right? That would be the problem question you could ask. How important? And then you just step on the problem. And it's the first step on the problem. And we are not stomping on the same problem because it just hurts. But after getting the situation, then getting the problem, now you see how it relates to prompting. This is prompting people. This is prompting our customers. The next one is inclination. We are making it like throwing the salt on the wound, because this opened the wound, and this is inclining. Inclining questions. For example, in your case, about the report, you found out that he confessed, or she confessed, that, well, it takes us maybe 20 minutes every day, for example. I'm just inventing the answer. Yeah? And then to incline it, you ask, how much is the time worth in money, for example? Or in your case, how many clients or how many people from the audience decide not to attend the next event because they didn't understand what was happening in the previous one? So you are not telling them what consequences are. The key to everything here is make the client tell you what did it cost him that he still has this problem. And you make the client even more sad. Now, bad salespeople start selling here and offering the solution. The worst one starts selling here. Bad here. What do the good ones do, or the more successful ones? So this was incline, and here you have to show what will the client benefit. But again, you're not showing it, you're asking the client to tell you what is good, or what's good in choosing your solution. And to do that, you're asking just one question. Like, it's called need payoff question. I will use the same marker. Need, how the need payoffs. Need payoff. And it means you are asking how, in your case, how would you use that time instead? If we show that this 20 minutes a day times 5 days a week times 4 weeks times 12 months, you get a specific amount of time which you can convert into money, right? And you're not doing it yourself, you're just asking the client to do it. And the client said, okay, that costs me obviously $20,000 a year, for example. And then you ask the final question, if there wouldn't be this problem, what would you do with these $20,000 a year? How would you use that money? Or in your case, if misinterpretation of events costs you that and that amount of clients, which costs you that and that amount of additional marketing, which you wouldn't have to use if there will be always full crowded events, then how would you use that money, that resource, those people, those human resources also, and that intelligence and those efforts, if you wouldn't have this problem? And in the end, you get a client who is happy dreaming about how he is solving his very painful problem. We found what is the problem, and here the customer is just neutral. To get him talk, you ask the situational question, then you give him a problem question, then you incline how exactly the problem converts into money or in other values he's willing to eliminate, and how would that help. And mostly after the fourth question, you don't need to use any closing technique or any like call to action or anything else. The client is asking you, well, tell me please, how can I solve this problem? And when the client asks you to solve his problem, that's the dream of every sales situation. So my name is Gatis, and if you want to solve your sales situations, you can read Neil Rackham and other books I've read, and you can watch a lot of content in YouTube, etc. Or you can just approach me and we can talk about it. Or you join Riga Business Chamber and I connect you with the people you are looking for. That's it.
So Gati, we have a small gift for you as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Small speech, small gift.
Small
Okay.
speech, small gift.
Good. I understand.
All right.
I'll take my phone.
Yes. Okay. So now we have come to the spot where everyone was waiting for, the break with pizza and drinks. So we shall return in 15 minutes, so 8:30. So let's go. And it's in the room next to us. It's Edgars Beigarts and your presentation. Let's switch over. Then actually, so take this. And I'll remove this so you have more space. Control something. If you need the clicky. Okay. All right, big round of applause for Edgars, and I'm turning on the light.
Hi, so I'm Edgars from Mitigate AI Services, and I will be talking about why business users will never use Claude Code. And by that I mean more like open a terminal to configure some JSONs or something like that. And this talk was originally meant to be presented by my colleague, Edvins, but he couldn't make it. He's more of like a salesperson, and I'm more like a technical person, so probably a different presentation today. So the current problem is that the AI is stuck in this engineering bubble, I think, because if you think about like sales, HR, finance, or marketing, or support, they are not running local setups with CLIs and Python installed to use these CLI tools. And we as developers, we are really liking like Claude Code, Codex, or any other coding agents, and it feels like magic sometimes. So the rest of these 90% gets a generic chatbot. Probably most companies have like some Microsoft tools like SharePoint, Outlook, and they probably come bundled with Copilot. They can like copy paste some chats, upload some documents. Maybe someone has set up like some connectors, I don't know. Some more advanced users probably use ChatGPT or Cloud Enterprise or Cloud Teams, where they can like share some like custom MCP servers or reusable skills. But anyway, this problem with these first two are that they can't reach your like internal systems by default. So if you're using like some custom HR system or ERP system or other tools, by default it's like not available to them, which they are using like daily. And I think what's where we are heading is that currently like we are all excited about coding agents, but it will probably shift to like more general agents meant for knowledge workers like finance, marketing, HR, and they probably will not have like local machines set up perfectly to run Python or any other CLI tools. And they mostly like, they daily use probably just some web apps and has a shared drive, and that would be enough for them in most cases. And like there are three main building blocks of an agent, right? You have like this agentic loop, and then you can extend it with your knowledge base like skills. Then you can extend it with MCP servers and some CLI tools. But the problem is like the business users will never touch the CLI probably, except the use case like developer comes and helps them set up some MCP servers or CLI tools they can use. And for example, there's a Google Ads MCP, and try like showing this to your marketing person, like they need to configure Python. I will provide you with a developer token, and then you will need to install pipex and things like that to get it working, right? And you probably have like 6 tools like this. And another solution is to like host these MCP servers yourself so they are more accessible and you can onboard people more easily. And regarding these MCP servers, they were open sourced in like November 24. Then came the remote servers authorization. And I think these two like remote servers and authorization is what gets it more available to general people like marketing, sales, HR. And so in summary, like here on the left is like what probably business users actually need. And on the right side is what it takes from like IT and the DevOps side to actually work this. So business users probably need their tools, their web apps to be accessible in this single interface where they can do stuff. They probably want to feel safe in this environment, and they want to generate the documents, reports, edit some files, and they probably want maybe a nicer UI instead of the markdown. They want something maybe with something more interactive. But on the other side, yeah, it takes a lot to like combine this and build an agent that actually hides these things from the business users. And we are at Mitigate AI Services. We are building our own like AI platform and also building custom MCP servers for our clients. And I mean, in the first case, for example, you are using, I don't know, Atlassian Jira has a nice remote MCP you can use. For example, one client of us, they used Redmine issue tracking, and Redmine doesn't have any remote MCPs. They have a REST API, and they recently added like auth authorization. So, and there was existing like Redmine MCP open source repo available we could use. In the second case, another client was not using like Gmail or Microsoft Outlook. They had their own like mail server, an email server. So we created our own like mail MCP. I will get into this later. And then there's a third option, which we also used, was using the agent gateway. And this is in these cases where you already have like a REST API with Open API specification and an OAuth authorization server. So you can configure a small YAML file and run it. Also, the agent gateway is open source and it's written in Rust, and it's quite fast and uses a small amount of memory. And regarding our Mitigate AI platform, so like every need came from a specific client that they needed to solve. The first one was like support chatbots in their customer portals or their homepages to avoid like overloading their support team. So we built a chatbot that can be embeddable inside a web page, and also built RAG that supports like also ingesting PDFs, Word documents, and also crawling websites. And then we also needed some automations because another client wanted to have comments in Jira, and they have like knowledge base. Part of it was in their homepage, part of it was in Confluence, and also they had the knowledge base was in different languages. So we also added support so you can translate other documents to a single language, because as we tested it, the embeddings, if you're doing a vector search, they actually work better if they are in the same language. Otherwise, it would prefer the same language as the user entered the prompt. And then also came later the MCPs, GenUI. We also needed workflows so you can draft an email if a support ticket, for example, comes in. And then later also we needed sandboxes to let the users generate their Word documents, run some Python scripts under the hood and things like that. And also our platform, we have like cloud version and also on-premise solution which you can deploy on your own servers. And you can switch and use any LLM model. The platform doesn't bundle any LLMs, so it's out of scope. So you either use Google, Anthropic, or ChatGPT, or other providers. And the why? Because yeah, sometimes it's the leading agent is Claude, and other day it's ChatGPT, and everything changes, and the next day some model is not available in Europe, for example. So you can always switch between these models and test out like which one is better or not. Also, it's also available in the RAG when you are embedding things. So, and eventually the AI platform supports this embedded support chatbot, which you can embed in your website. And then we have the everyday team assistant, which is similar to like Cloud Web or ChatGPT web interface. And then we have chat completion API, which also can use our semantic search tools and other tools. And then I'm just going to show small, like 3 demos for each of these features. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is this right like icon with the chatbot. You can open it, you can configure this, you can also configure the theme here, the colors change, and you can ask them questions from and it will try to answer. In this case, I'm going to show, this is our documentation site, and we have a showcase here. For example, an e-commerce site where you could buy things. And for example, I will show you like, I need headphones. Let's hope it works. Okay, so it responded with this one item. Unfortunately, I have only one headphones here in my store. It rendered like this card with some text, and also it has an input, like I can buy 2 headphones. And I can say, okay, add to cart. And I can see that this pop-up is actually the one displayed from this e-commerce site. So it's actually calling the e-commerce site to do this add to cart. And then I can also, LLM can decide to show me this view cart based on the prompt you have. And then if I click view my cart, it just sends the prompt to view my cart, and it triggers the tool from the e-commerce site. And I can go into details like how are we doing this. So to embed this chat, it's just in simple case, it's just you add the script tag to your web page. If you need like user authentication, you can generate a JWT token that can be later used in calling remote MCPs you have. Also, you can have like guest sign up or anonymous mode. And then you can extend the chatbot with your like JavaScript functions. And for example, in this text store I showed, you can embed the script tag and also embed some add some tools like add to cart, which just will execute this JavaScript function that lives on your e-commerce site or your support site or whatever. And it's actually not limited. Just add to cart or navigate to cart. You can actually register a lot of tools. In one case, we had this customer portal that was using Odoo, and they already had like JS SDK available there in the front end, which was already authenticated with this user. So we just registered all the tools, and they will just use the official Odoo web JS SDK, and people can chat and search for their products or their previous orders and things like that. Now let me check what I, and yeah, regarding the platform, so I will show you how it looks from the configuration side. So here we have the documents. They are converted, everything is converted from HTML, PDFs, .6s, everything is converted to Markdown and then chunked. You can also translations, see if it's enabled for this source. And you can add new sites or import from your Google Drive sheet or from your Google Drive or SharePoint. And regarding web, you can configure like how many sites it will actually crawl there. And additionally, you can also, if the support site or something is protected or not available to the internet, you can pass some headers. Or if it's a simple site with like long-lasting sessions, you can probably just enter here set cookies and paste some users' cookies there. You can also use proxy servers, configure CSS selectors to ignore stuff, also add URL patterns which you don't like or don't want to be included in this knowledge base. Enable translation and assign it to workspaces. Then you have workspace settings. In this case, I have some additional custom system prompt, and I told it to, when showing products, use OpenUI with this structure. I want carousel with products with single card. Each product should have a header. Then I want a form input with add to cart button, and I can add other things here. So the default output is Markdown, but you can use this OpenUI. OpenUI is also, let's show it. Okay, so OpenUI is an open source project, and it gives you an alternative to Markdown. There are other like generative UI frameworks. One is this Google's A2 UI, and then there is this OpenUI, and there are Vercel, JSON renderer, and other tools. But the idea for most of them is like you create your library with the components that the LLM can use. In this case, in our platform, we are currently using just the default library that comes with OpenUI. So it has like, you can render Kanban boards, yeah, you can stacks, tabs. And so the other frameworks use this, like it returns JSON, which is very expressive. In OpenUI case, it returns like this OpenUI language that we provide LLM in the system prompt that how you can use this language. And it replies, instead of the Markdown, it replies in this syntax. And regarding components, there are a lot of things there, like images, image galleries, tables, bar charts, stock charts, a lot of charts, and also it has forms, so LLM can decide to display you maybe a drop down with some options. It can also think like, well, if this is email, then it is email, also validations. So using this OpenUI language, like you can use your custom components, or you can use this default library or extend this library with your custom components. And in this case, we already saw that this chatbot like responded with the open UI language, which displayed the card, and I told him to use this quantity field with add to cart. Regarding the open UI, they have also, like, I can show you also some demo here. I think it was in Playground. So it also supports streaming output. So for example, if I click weather dashboard I want, you can see on the left side, it will stream the open UI language, and here it will render it incrementally. It also, I think it supports also some additional features that you can also update from the next prompts, the previous. So I think this might be that some business users actually prefer this output instead of the Markdown one. I personally prefer the Markdown. It's just more compact and easier to stream, and like consumes less tokens than this. I think they had also this documentation. They had these feature comparisons. There are like these other alternatives. This A2 UI by Google, Copilot OpenGen UI, and JSON Versal. And like these three are streaming JSON in the output, which is like 3 times larger because like the component keys, I think some of them try to use this JSON patch format or something like that, but still like this OpenUI is the more, uses less tokens, so it's also faster for the LLM to generate. The downside is that I think it's also for the JSONs that the LLM can make errors, like forget curly braces or just respond in plain text instead of OpenUI language. So you need to validate these responses again with LLM to just fix the error there. I think we support in the AI platform, we can also configure, so let me switch. We can also like configure these API keys for all the providers. We have also voice inputs, which can be used by, currently I think it's OpenAI or 11 Labs. And then we can also allow users to export telemetry from generative AI to Langfuse or other open telemetry providers. In this case, I can, and later you can configure all the models with reasoning and choose different models, and also you have different workspaces where you can override these models. And I can also show you this Langfuse tool. We initially used Langfuse because it was like already available, and we didn't want to implement this like observability thing in our AI platform, but we'll probably do that later. And here we can see like what it actually, like what was the input, how many time it took. So here you can see the add to cart function that was executed with the parameters. And you can also see, I think, the output somewhere. Okay, let's move to the next thing. I wanted to show like how we are using this EMAP SMTP service. So we have built our own like remote MCP, which is standardized, which can also be used in Claude or any other tool that supports MCPs and OAuth. And here you just enter the URL, select the authentication type, provide the client ID and secret. If the service doesn't support this dynamic client registration, some remote MCPs support this, so you can leave these blanks and it will register the auth app automatically. Then you can configure, like, the administrator can configure which tools are enabled and which ones can be auto-approved by the users later. And also you can select which tools are deferred. So then it will use the tool discovery and avoid like loading all the tool schemas in the context, and also avoid some limitations. I think ChatGPT had limitation of 126 tools, and if you're over, then it's just errors out. So this is how the admin can configure these. And then in the chat, like the regular user just clicks connect. I will just show you who is disconnected. So it just clicks connect. It gets redirected to this auth authorization login form. Normally for all the tools you log in with your like Gmail account or Sentry account or things like that. But in this case, it's like IMAP and SMTP, and it's just, you know, protocols, and you can see that it's pre-configured. So it knows that I specify this auth client ID, and it knows that we are using these SMTP services in IMAP. And I can just complete, like enter some random stuff. And now I'm connected, and I can start using these tools. We still need to improve the UI because it should be saying thinking, and the tool calls should be a bit smoother. But anyway, it works. So also I can ask to send the emails to someone. And also as a user, I can also see which tools are available, and I'm able to auto-approve some of them. I can show you an example, like, for example, the sender is not, send message is not approved, so send email to okay. And in this case, it will ask me for approval. Do you really want to proceed? Similar to like Claude Code or other agents. The thing we are missing probably is that we need to generate with the LLM probably a better message, because these tool calls and things like that could be really verbose, and business users will probably not understand if there's like 200 parameters and it needs to do something. So yeah, I think this, like, using these remote MCPs is a really fast way to get these business users onboarded, and the IT can configure them and like grant these tool approvals and things like that. So the next thing is, yeah, this one was. Yeah, one thing with MCPs that is kind of weird is if you're dealing with files. For example, if I want to send an attachment, I will show it, like, for example, I can upload. Okay, let's just some invoice. So in this case, this uploaded file is also injected in the prompt, and it's uploaded to a S3 bucket, and in this case, it's running locally, so we are using some locally signed URLs, but so these MCP servers probably need to have deal with URLs, because if I would base 64 and code 10 megabytes, it would probably fail. So this one thing, and also these MCP services are either avoiding deal with attachments. I think Atlassian MCP is one of them that you can't add attachments to Jira tickets and things like that. But maybe something has changed, I don't know. And also for downloading, if you get the main, if you read them, so also it displays this read message, and so, and the last use case was for this client that wanted to see Jira comments. So they wanted to see something like this. There's a Jira ticket. It searched the whole knowledge base and added the comment that this might be related to this or that. And in this case, this was from one of the early clients, and for them, we just added two Jira automations. One was to, initially we thought we could get away with just one automation, which was just to send a prompt and add it to the comment. But Atlassian has this limitation that all the automations should execute in less than 60 seconds, and sometimes LLM takes longer to process search and generate the response. So the workaround was to send the prompt to our chat API, and then it will respond in this Atlassian webhook, which kind of worked. Yeah, in details, yeah, the send prompt is just, item work getting created, you send web request here, pass in the JSON with all these Jira placeholders, and when you're receiving, it just adds this response to the comment and marks this comment as internal. In this case, so let's move back to the slideshow. And so, yeah, why mitigate AI platform, and how we are different from Claude or 11 Labs or any other solution. We provide cloud or also self-hosted on-premise solutions. This is and you can use any LLM provider you want. There's no LLM vendor locking. We have some additional features that you can also add workflows. So users can configure that when a new IMAP message received, then it should insert the prompt, and it will use your tools to, save a draft email, for example. Then we have this embeddable super chat test. Then we have some cost tracking. And we also have sandboxes, which are still experimental. We are using this, basically we're using this open sandbox, open source tool, I don't know how to call it, and we run Docker images there, which have, I think, in our case, we can also switch, for example, some organizations can use their own Docker images. I think it also supported I think, Windows images, and you could also potentially run on Windows inside the sandbox. I haven't tried myself. And it also provides you with these warm sandboxes that, like, there are new sandboxes sitting in the queue, so you can, the next bash function can already execute in like milliseconds. In this sandbox, we currently have installed LibreOffice. So this is what business users want. They want to generate PDFs or convert Word documents to PDFs or things like that. And then we have also installed Pandoc, which you can convert any formats. Yeah, so business users would probably use this to analyze some CSV files, which will write some Python functions and execute them in this sandbox. Then we also provide this persistent storage, so you can persist some files between your chats and also share them between your workspace users. And what we don't have currently, we don't have like native mobile apps, native desktop apps. We don't have yet these credential vaults, which would be nice if we would like to, for example, tell our agent, like in the SEA platform, to tell that to clone this GitHub repo and create a branch and fix these things and push them back. So we would need to have these credential vaults that we can provide this sandbox with fake API keys, and then when they're actually calling these APIs, we would inject the real keys. But this open sandbox, I think it already has this implemented. We just need to wire these things up. And also, we don't have like built-in tracing yet. We are only having this option like to export everything to Langfuse and OpenTelemetry. And also, we don't have this programmatic tool use yet, which is, I think it's a new thing. It was, I think Claude uses it to like have these, you can run like MCP tools in parallel. And for example, just to get some fields and then pipe them together to some other CLI tools. And you could do this without like sending everything like through this LLM again, so to save the context. Because yeah, so some people are saying like that MCP is dead, you should use CLIs because it's much like it saves you tokens. But with this programmatic use, you just use the MCPs as a CLI tool. So you can execute them from your JavaScript function and optimize, and they become essentially the same as a CLI tool. But yeah, the business user shouldn't know about this. It's just in the background. I can show you also how this, I think I had some examples. In this case, I myself like use this. We have also skills, so you can just auto-complete and store skills. It supports this open agent skills, how it was called, standard. And I have a skill that I have told it should check it should basically check all my calendar, my Google emails, my GitHub activities, my sent and received Slack messages, check my Jira updates, then some important notes for these tool calls, how to format them. I think the Atlassian Jira MCP was something weird, so I needed to tell them like use these queries. And tell them to group by Jira issues keys, so I know at the end of the day, so I know which clients I should build, because in general, like Mitigate does custom software development for a lot of customers and a lot of projects, and at the end of the day, we need to know like how much time was spent on each project. And in this case, yeah, it started like reading the skill. It uses the memory, which I don't have anything. And I think it's using Sonnet here. And checked my Jira email messages, then searched from some tools from Jira, then gather some information from Jira, search some pull requests, and because I'm lazy and I forget things to like log my work time. For example, today I'm also like empty day. I don't know what I did today. and at the end, yeah, it can also like create these harvest time entries and ask my approval if I'm good with them, and then I just have to edit them. Regarding the sandbox, yeah, we also have here, I think this is how like I just told it to just generate some test HTML. This is the bash tool call, and it generated the test file. I can also see the generated artifacts. I can also publish them and also share to other users, similar like to as Claude is doing it, with a heads up. And yeah, I think I forgot one thing about a platform that I want to show, like how these, like how can you extend this platform, what's built inside this platform. So everything revolves around the tools. Either they are platform built-in tools or they are these front-end tools like this add to cart. And then there are the connector tools, which you can use from remote MCPs. And so the platform tool has these built-in tools. One is the semantic search, which just searches in the knowledge base by query and returns these chunks. Then we have the bash function, which can be used to do anything. And present files so that we can provide these links to the files that were generated in the UI. Then we have tool search to search for these tools if they are deferred. We have also web fetch, like sleep and time. That's about it, I think. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Time.
Question, and probably even applies to both presenters today. So whenever you have an open cut window exposed to the world, obviously it's a prime target for attacking it, for proxy injecting, for using it, just using like a lot of usage and a lot of tokens. Like, do you have any mitigations or how you deal with abuse of that?
You mean this like support embedded chat, right?
For example, yeah.
Yeah, we currently have this rate limiting, so you can just rate limit by IP addresses, and that's it for now.
We don't expose anything to public anonymous users, so it's just for registered users.
Any problems with that with current users?
With the registered users, so it's also there's some basic rate limiting, but typically registered users don't do that as they will be found.
All right, any more questions? If not, then you can give the...
Which one should you choose?
Which one should you choose? Oh, yeah. All right, so give a big hand of applause to Edgars. All right. So thank you very much for your presentation. And we have a small gift for you as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank
you
you.
very much for the presentation.
Kā jūs viņu pārdodat? Kā pats cik?
Tas ir maisīgs, tur arī tāds nevar izdomāt, kā veikt, tur kaut kas pamainās, ka ir sandboxes, tur katrs praisās. Mums mājaslapā stāv, initial setups ir laikam 10,000, un tad 400 eiro mēnesī, pa 50. Plus to maksā.
Okay, so we are back. I do need the lights off for this part for a short second. All right, so you heard all the presentations for today, and we do have like the closing words and a little bit from Uldis about some other upcoming events that we're kind of involved in. So Uldis.
It's the same time, the same thing as always. I hope you've been waiting for. I hope so. So, who has been to at least one Riga tech dinner? Okay. I need those lights on. Raise your hand.
You do?
You've been ever to the Riga tech dinner? There's one. There's not that many. Okay. What happens at the Riga tech dinner?
We eat, drink, and talk.
Yes. Basically, those are the three best things. You eat, drink, and you talk. Yes. Well, you depends. If you are the very special guest, then yes, you get to talk a lot. If you come as someone who's interested in the event, then you are allowed to talk less. Okay? But the next time is around energy and tech and around EVs. That's how they call it. I get confused. It's electric vehicles. Yeah. They all say EVs, and then you go, oh, that's the jargon. Okay. When? July 28th. But then this is not official yet. Can you guess who should be here? Maybe yes, maybe not. Yeah, and then from NFET, Richard Skotler's head of transport electrification at NFET Group. So that's who you will meet here. But then this event is not public yet, so if you want to be in a very secret, private group, then this is your chance. Scan the QR you'll get in a WhatsApp group if the admin is gonna approve you. But honestly, every second day there's some plus 476 and plus 296 and such type of numbers are applying every second day, sometimes more than one in a day. So there is a very strong face control if your number starts with plus 371, then most probably you'll get in. So yeah, that's one thing. Then the next thing. Now I'm gonna need your help. I see you are still here, so you love everything what's happening here. Have you heard about AI Connect? If not, then there's gonna be a conference, AI Connect, on 22nd of August, where I need your help. We're right now making all kinds of fun videos and whatnot, and you'll have a job now, okay? This is my cheat page. I should ask for your permission first of all. Are you okay that you're gonna be on a short, simple video for AI Connect? No one gets paid. Okay? Okay, all right. The people were joking that they disagree, but they're still in the room, so it works, right? And then that's how I got married. So, what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna ask you questions. I need to sit down, otherwise this is weird. But okay, I'll survive. I'll ask you 5 questions, and all you have to say is AI Connect all at once. Yeah. Let's do one quick experiment. what's going to happen on the 22nd of August? AI. Perfect. So this is how it goes. All right, the first question is exactly like that. So what is happening on the 22nd of August? AI. And where will you put all your spare money? AI. Is it open to all ages and any level of knowledge? AI. What are you dreaming about in the middle of night? AI. Where will we meet again? AI Connect. Thank you. and call for papers extended until 22nd of June. Today is the deadline, but we extended it for a week, so you can still get in, you can still apply as a speaker. Please.
All right, yes. Take a picture, and it will be posted on our Meetup as well, right?
Not yet.
Not yet, but will be next week.
Yes, so you can see all the info there as well. So, nope, wrong way, sorry. So, thank you again for our sponsors, Arvato Systems Latvia, and we would like to get your feedback. What did you like? What did you like about the presentations in general? Just a little bit of feedback for us so we could make these events in the future and know what to improve, what kind of things we did well, what we didn't. And yeah, we kind of appreciate it. So if you do this, it's like a nice thing for us. Yeah, and generally, this is it for today. Thank you very much for attending. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked the presentations and the chit-chats in the pauses in between. So I hope to see all of you next time as well, and on the conference or AI Connect as well. So
When is the next time?
that's a good question. I don't know. Probably after AI Connect, so I would say October-ish. Yeah, maybe? Yeah, we'll see. It's kind of feel and go, you know. Yeah, so thank you very much for coming. If you would be so kind, leave some feedback if you have any. And yeah, and that is, nope, sponsors. Well, thanks to sponsors.
Yeah, hello. Just not to waste your time really quickly.
I don't mind at all.
Colleagues for DevOps and something like that.
Yes. So what are you looking for?
Really simple, really simple thing. DevOps guy, AWS, and the guy who can drink as much as us. This is the requirements for our team.
So we need to host.
Yeah.